The four elements from which all things are created.
How can you talk about elements when the war draws near to us every hour?
Princess Tigra, we all have our duty. Your father's duty is to be king and lead. Your brother's duty is to soldier. And your duty is to learn.
You mean my duty is to stay shut up while all the men do the fighting and share all the glory? Well, we think that stinks. Don't we, Shaitan?
As a millennial, I often think my generation is the first generation that consumed adult animation well after childhood. But sure enough, a classic such as Fire and Ice can prove that the trend of cartoons showing curvy women while buff men swing axes and spears is something that has been around for decades. This film takes us on a wild adventure as our heroes fight the vile Ice Kingdom ruled by Necron, which has come to oppress all those in its path and turn everything into ice for some reason. Strap in for this old school animation fantasy that's action-packed with lots of monsters at every corner. Just try not to get too distracted by that half-dressed princess, fellas. What up, you guys? I'm Kent E.S. Larwell, and I'm a writer YouTuber who talks about everything from philosophy, politics, storytelling, and more. The easiest way to support what I do is to subscribe to this channel and like this video. It's free and takes a second to do. Like most of the things that I review, you can check out Fire and Ice on Tubi for free completely. Check it out if you're interested. The story goes something like this. Actually, well, the intro does a very good exposition of what this movie is all about, so why don't we just play that?
Long ago, at the end of the last great ice age, there arose in the north a powerful queen. Her name was Juliana, and her ambition was to extend her realm to all the regions of the known world. To this end, she gathered an army, and she bore a son, and named him Necron. And him she tutored in the black arts and in the powers of the mind. And when Necron came of age and attained mastery of those powers, together they seized control of the region of ice. And from their castle called Ice Peak, they sent a giant glacier rumbling southward. No village or people could stand against its relentless onslaught. And so the remnants of humanity fled south and huddled for warmth among the volcanoes of a mountain region ruled by a generous king named Jero, from his fortress which men called Fire Keep. And still Necron pushed the ice ever southward into the temperate zone toward Fire Keep, and no one dared guess at the outcome of a meeting on the field of battle between fire and ice.
Caught up in all this conflict is Tigran, the princess of the Fire Keep, and a warrior named Larn, who are stuck in no man's land, trying to get their way back to Fire Keep before the evil witch can kidnap Tigran as a hostage against her father. The world is a sprawling jungle with a whole bunch of wildlife out there set to eat anyone alive, so our adventurers have to stay on their toes as they also avoid being captured by the Ice Kingdom warriors. This movie slaps like a cartoon Conan the Barbarian, which is very fitting given that it came a year after the Arnold Schwarzenegger film. We have a prehistoric fantasy setting where shirtless warriors run rampant, fighting with each other, reptiles, wolves, witches, and many other creatures. The plot is pretty basic and to the point, but the world keeps you on your toes as Larn and Tigran get pulled down one wild corridor or another. Things stay action heavy, which must have been difficult given the animation wasn't as easy as it is today. You can definitely tell that the animators are making every frame count as they drew every action sequence or even the dialogue scenes. But I find this gives the whole movie character. In an age of oversaturated computer-generated garbage, you find a lot of art and style in Fire and Ice, which have been desperately missing in modern-day animation. The action won't be perfectly choreographed, but it gives enough for you to follow, and it is done in a way that allows the viewer to fill in the blanks. Looking into this more, the creator of Fire and Ice is none other than Ralph Paschke, who was also the guy who did Fritz the Cat, Wizards, and the original cartoon movie for Lord of the Rings in the 1970s. Gotta hand it to Ralph, even though his work is before my time, his cartoons still hit heavy half a century later. Heavy and hard, you might say. Fire and Ice is a welcomed addition to his long list of cartoons. This story is a little simpler than his other works, however it holds up as an awesome adventure of its own. The fantasy world is not given any focus to complexity, but we get enough detail to give a greater than life feel as we dwell on the tension of the ice barrier that is about to collide with Fire Keep. Our heroes are the only ones who can stop the evil Necron from taking over the whole realm for himself. We don't need to know much more in this hour and 20-minute movie as these characters take on the beasts and warriors to accomplish their goal. Necron needs to die so that this evil sorcery is brought to an end. The warriors are set out to do that, but first they have to fight through a whole bunch of creatures in their way to get there. Simple, to the point, not a story with a great deal of depth, but that's okay. Not every movie has to be My Dinner with Andre. You can strap yourself in and just enjoy the fantasy roller coaster for what it is. One small piece of fantasy world building that left me kind of disappointed but also made me laugh was the whole build up to the Firehawks. At one point, the king and prince of Firekeep talk about the Dragonhawks and, oh man, at least we still have the Dragonhawks. Maybe we can use the Dragonhawks, but no wait, we should hold back and save our Dragonhawks for later. Then later in the film, they use the Dragonhawks, and the Dragonhawks end up being just pterodactyls. Which is still cool, but I had it built up in my head that we were going to get small dragons which breathe fire, since this is Firekeep we're talking about. But I guess some lizard-like hawk is pretty much what a pterodactyl is. Still, I had it disappointed that Dragonhawks were just pterodactyls in the end. I started this movie thinking it would be for kids, and oh boy was I wrong. Given that Larn kind of looks like a knockoff He-Man, and being from the same era, I thought it would be his own kind of He-Man story, and it does have some of those elements. But this story has no problem showing death left, right, and center. There's no blood shown, possibly because it wasn't allowed to be shown at the time, or it was too difficult to animate. But this story has no problem killing off a whole band of warriors if that's what's called for. Fire and Ice are colliding in a war, and this war most certainly has casualties everywhere you look. Not much else to say on this one. If you like fantasy and looking for something a little more lighthearted than the high drama of Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, then Fire and Ice will leave you satisfied with a clean-cut story, all done in less than an hour and a half. Check it out for free on Tubi. As always, thanks for watching.